What's up, everyone? It's Phoenix here, bringing you guys another video. Today we're going to be talking about whether or not ELSEWORLDS was a good crossover. Now, the thing is, right, there are two things that we have to keep in mind. The first is that this was all basically set up for another crossover. Right, Crisis on Infinite Earths. The second thing that we have to keep in mind is there were only 3 shows present. There was only 3 episodes in this crossover, right? Previous crossovers have had various numbers of shows, but more recently, with Heroes vs. Aliens, or whatever it was, and the Crisis on Earth X, it had 4 shows to work with. So it had 4 episodes. But this time, Legends was cut out of it, which some people are annoyed with, and others are indifferent about it. I don't think the addition of Legends would have helped, because it was all set up. They were all felt like 3 separate episodes. Like, they kind of each resolved each other, while the third hinted towards the next crossover. I felt like if Legends were to show up, there would have been too many characters, I think. I think the way that they handled it was fine. Especially since this is all set up. I think next crossover, Legends will definitely have to come, be a part of this, as well as Batwoman and Supergirl and basically every single hero, especially since they're going up against the Anti-Monitor, who is the most powerful villain in all the universe. Like, he is the number 1 villain in the entire DC universe, right? It's Crisis on Infinite Earth. But knowing that it's a lead-in, and knowing that Crisis on Infinite Earth is the eventual end game for everything, I thought this crossover was really good. It might not have been as exciting as Earth X. It didn't have that one continuous plot line. I mean, it kind of did, it kind of didn't. But it definitely had a lot of fun moments, which were really great moments. There was a Smallville theme. There was the Oliver and Barry bantering throughout the entire thing. There was a Mazo, there was Superman vs. Superman, which was an epic fight. There was, Dr. Destiny. We got a glimpse of him. We got a glimpse of Arkham Asylum. We got Batwoman. We got Arrow versus Flash, through hallucinogens. We got hints of, villains to expect in Batwoman. In theory, depending on whether or not she actually gets a show, she is confirmed for a pilot episode in April. However, she is not confirmed for a show yet. We do not have any confirmation whether or not she will get her own show. I think that will be determined based on the performance of the pilot episode. Hence, it being a pilot, they're going to test run it basically and see if Batwoman can handle it on her own. I do think that no matter how well or how not so well she does, she will be appearing in future crossovers, especially the next one in 2019. There are a lot of nice Easter eggs with, John Diggle being John Stewart, the Green Lantern. There was John Wesley Shipp as Barry Allen, the original classic Barry Allen. So it's interesting. I do think, I'm mixed, okay? I do think that Crisis on Earth X was a little bit better, only because it had its own resolution. This crossover is a little bit... It was really good, but it wasn't necessarily great because it was leading into another thing. This thing isn't just easily wrapped up, so it's not fully wrapped up, although it is technically wrapped up for the crossover's sake. But we know that it's not wrapped up as it goes into Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's really interesting to see this all play out. What this tells us is basically Crisis on Infinite Earth is going to be happening in Flash Season 5, Supergirl Season... Flash Season 6, Supergirl Season 4, Supergirl Season 5, and Arrow Season 8, assuming that they go for an 8th season with Arrow. I don't know how this is going to work, but basically, if you don't know what Crisis on Infinite Earth is a classic comic book series where basically every single hero goes up against the Anti-Monitor, who is the most powerful being in the DC universe, and they need to defeat him, basically. That's basically the concept of Crisis on Infinite Earths. We're going to probably see a lot of different Earths being introduced. We're probably going to need other heroes from different Earths, which would be interesting. We could get Jesse Quick back. We would need Reverse Flash back. We would need basically every other hero to join forces, basically. And I think that would be a really interesting concept for a crossover. The only problem is it might be overcrowded because they would need so many heroes. But since it's going up against the Anti-Monitor, it probably won't feel as crowded. What I think they're going to do with the crossover is, depending on whether or not Batwoman gets her own show, that will also depend on the length of the crossover. Because I think, I don't know. Because I assume that the Batwoman show would take place at the same time Flash and Arrow are taking place. They might do like flashbacks like they did with Green Arrow. You did the whole flashbacks to tell her origin story while everything else happens in present day. I think that would make sense. But when they have her own show in the fall, I think she would also have her part in the crossover. I think that's the idea of the thing. Now the question is, we know that Legends is most likely going to be a part of Crisis, right? But what we don't know is whether or not Black Lightning will. I think it will be very interesting for them to meet Black Lightning. I think Black Lightning is on Earth 38. I'm not really sure, but it would be interesting to see them meet if they are, and to see them come together as well. I don't really watch Black Lightning, but I am familiar with the character, and I think it would be very interesting to bring that show into the loop, especially since it is on the CW, but it's not technically a part of the Arrowverse yet. And since it's going up against the Anti-Monitor, I think we're going to need Black Lightning to be a part of this crossover. Whether it's through Legends or whether it's through the actual show, who knows. But I think it'll be very interesting to see how all of this plays out. I'm really excited to see what they do next year. because this really opens the doors for crossovers. If they do Crisis on Infinite Earths, then there's so much that they can do with that. There's so much they can do with that. And even further, if they do Crisis of Infinite Earths, what tops that after? What comes next after Crisis on Infinite Earths? Since obviously they do these crossovers annually, there's that big question. If they do Infinite Earths, what do they do next? Because that's going to, I think it would be really interesting if they were to introduce the Green Lantern Corps at some point, because then that could open the door for some Blackest Night, and that is a phenomenal series that I would honestly love to see. But budget says no to Green Lantern Corps. Honestly, even just a hint of it, because we already got a hint of it through this crossover, that the Green Lanterns actually exist. But what we don't know, we haven't seen the actual Green Lanterns. I think it would be very interesting to bring Green Lantern over to Legends, because he could actually do some, decent damage, as well as become a part of this, but not necessarily have his own storyline because budget doesn't allow for it. I think it would be very interesting to have a Green Lantern on the CW. Honestly, it could be John Diggle. It would be very interesting to see him become the Green Lantern, actually become the Green Lantern on this Earth. So he's essentially Jon Stewart, the CW version of it. Because I think they could do that with Diggle, have him be part of the Arrowverse, since they already have Martian Manhunter part of Supergirl. Why not have Green Lantern be part of Arrow? It would kind of undermine him, but if they do that, it could be a very interesting turn of events. Although that's probably just an Easter egg. But that's all I really have to say about that. I thought it was a decent crossover. I don't know if it tops I don't know if it tops Crisis on Earth X, but it definitely comes close to being my top crossover. It was a lot of fun to watch. So yeah. Anyways, comment down below, what do you guys think about the crossover? What do you think about Crisis on Infinite Earths coming to this CW? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think they can pull it off? Do you think, who would you like to see be a part of Crisis of Infinite Earths? Anyways, peace out, guys. It's been a blast.